Hello, my stamping friends. It is Tammy Nelson with Stamp and Scrap with Tammy with our Birthday Club 2021 Turtle and Friends bundle class. All right, let me show you what is included in the class today. I have got for you some beautiful cards. So we are using the Turtle and Friends for 4 designs, 2 of each. For those of you that purchased Birthday Club October 2021. I don't know if I said the month before. So these are the cards that you're going to be making. You got the paper, supplies, consumables for all of these cards. In addition to that, included in your club kit is 1 blender brush. I did a lot of blending today, and so I included one of those because if you didn't have one, I thought it would be handy. If you already have them, you can always use more of those. And then a full bolt of this white whisper white ribbon that is used on all of the projects, and then also some foam self-adhesive Stampin' Dimensionals. So this is what is in this month's card kit. So I'm really excited to share them with you. Let me just brush on a couple of the products I used. Of course, we used the Turtle and Friends bundle, just absolutely adorable. And I really liked these dies coordinating with this. The Give It a Whirl dies are what I used. You'll see many of these aspects. I did not make the spinning card, but I used many of these things with today's cards. And then I also used a couple of the dies from the scallop contour dies, mainly I think actually just the scalloped one right here. And so those are the main products that I used today. Of course, I sprinkled in a few other little things that I will share with you along the way. So I'm gonna do my best to somewhat quickly, but thoroughly share with you my Turtle and Friend cards that we created. We created them live in the studio yesterday. So if you are local to me in the Mankato area and you ever want to get to creating with us, you can certainly do that. We do Birthday Club the 3rd, I believe it is. No, it is the 4th. The 4th Tuesday of every month, we do live in person. And then the next day, the day after the live class, I ship out the other ones. Before I get started, I do want to share with you this adorable card. This was shared with me by Gail Connolly. Now, this is the Give It a Whirl. This is the full on what the Give It a Whirl dies can do. But I just used all the elements from that die cut set. Not this, but this is super cute. So we'll maybe work into that one of these days and make one of these cards with you. But let's just get started. I'm going to, not in any particular order, create today's cards. So I'm going to start with this one right here. I will bring my sample out. And this one is very cute. And so I'm going to need a little scratch paper here. And that's where I got that scalloped one from. I'll tell you the colors as we go. Now those that purchase the class kit, the measurements, the basic measurements in photos are in the email that you have received. And we will need a bone fold. The base that I'm using here is soft sea foam. So I kind of focused on soft sea foam. Looks like I actually got a base that's Daffodil Delight and Granny Apple Green were my main colors. I used a brick and mortar 3D embossing folder. I will go ahead and adhere that right away. No, I won't adhere that right away. That's a bad idea because I'm gonna wanna put some ribbon around that. I'm gonna just set this aside. Let's pretend that didn't happen. So we'll just go ahead and do some stamping to get things started here. And I will bring out my turtle. We're gonna need the little turtles. There are 2 smaller turtles. They're facing 2 different directions. And we'll need the shells. Let's get all kinds of stuff out here. It's really fun. There's some writing that will go inside of that turtle. And I think we have almost all of the elements that we need to get this party started. And I'm gonna stamp all my outlines in Memento ink. And so I'm very sporadically, I guess, going to place these. I did want to make sure, I knew my sentiment was going to go down kind of in this area, so I did want to make sure that I at least got 2 full turtles that you could see. And then some of the other ones are just kind of sneaking out of the side, which would be this one here. I'm still going to put it there because I really want it to look like I made my own designer series paper. And then I'm going to get a different color for that. I'm going to do the inside of the turtle shell. in Granny Apple Green. So it says, it's time to shell-abrade. Isn't that adorable? Perfect birthday card. And that fits in there just perfectly. Okay, now let's add a few little turtles. And I think we'll try to, let's see, let's try to make sure we can get a few of each on here. We want to make sure we get some of this one too, that are looking both directions. These are just adorable. And looks like I didn't leave enough room there. That'll work. And we'll put a little shell on the inside of this one. So very gentle is what I'm doing when I'm inking this up. Look at how cute that is. One last one here. And then after I actually completed this entire card just using the green colors, I decided it needed a little bit more. So I went ahead and any place that I had room, I added a birthday hat. Because after all, it is a birthday card. And I'll just add a few more. Like I said, very sporadic how I'm placing these, even like off of the paper a little bit is good. You can add as many or as few as you would like. But it just is gonna add a little pop of color. And let me I'm gonna put all these ink pads away so that I don't end up getting adhesive all over. Or not adhesive, ink adhesive. That could happen too. And I am going to find a cleaner. I know I got one ready. I had just stamped in black on this, but I'm gonna do a quick heat emboss. So in like the little packet, this is for those of you that got the to-go packet. In the little to-go packet, there was some scraps of black paper. It would have been in the area that had your clouds and your gems. So there's a couple strips of black paper. And so that's what you're gonna wanna grab at this point. And you know, kind of do as I say, not as I do. Since I am stamping with photopolymer, I should have my foam mat underneath here. And so we're gonna just heat emboss a couple of happy birthdays in white. So we have that spot there. For now, I'll just do one. I'm just making one of each card. You have got two of each card. So this is the white embossing powder. Just dumping that right over the top. Very generously. And I will need my heat tool. It's barely gonna reach over to my counter, but you'll get the idea. Oh yeah, you can see that. And so probably don't wanna, it's like a fan. I don't wanna be doing it right over the powder. And so I'm using the white. You use Versamark to stamp in, and then you just sprinkle the powder over the top, and then you heat it to set it. All right, beautiful. So now we have everything that we need to assemble this card. And nothing real fancy about this. I'm just gonna cut this apart. So sometimes the sentiments are a little longer than we want. And so let's change that. All we're gonna do is we're gonna snip it down, and there it was a little bigger. So I'm gonna make this fairly petite. Snip off each side, and now it will go into my circle. And I can move my scratch paper out of the way at this point. And so I think what I'll do here is I'll just get rid of some of my layers here. And I did do just a nice little thin layer of basic black paper. I just wanted just a touch. It really makes that color pop when you add that on the back of your basic white. All right, so next up, I'm gonna put this. Now remember, I put some adhesive on there, so you know what I can do? I can bring out my silicone craft sheet. So I accidentally put adhesive on there. I don't need it to be there. I'll put this on my adhesive sheet, on this silicone sheet, so that my adhesive doesn't get onto my surface and therefore cause a disaster. And so next I will adhere this, and I'm gonna angle this just ever so slightly. That's nice. So then you just see that brick embossing folder popping out of there. And next what I'm gonna do, as you see, I'm not coloring all this. I'll do a little bit of the coloring after I have it all together, just to share with you the colors that I use, but you don't need to watch me color because there's more cards to get to. I'm gonna leave this ribbon very generous, so I have lots to work with. Now next what I'm gonna do is I want this, I'm gonna kind of decide where I want this to go, because let's say I did it underneath. This is how I did it. You can do it however you want, but this is how I liked it. I wanted it over the top of that. So I'm gonna actually adhere this, just to keep things very simple. I will adhere this with some glue dots. I wanted to make sure it landed where I wanted it to go. And it just needs a couple of them. Excuse me, I need to grab a sip of water. Okay, we'll put one down there, and then I always like to put a glue dot right where I want my bow to be tied. And so right wherever you want the center of your bow to be, then I just press down nice and firm and tie the bow. I'm gonna kind of tie this one to the side so that it is a little bit sideways. Like it at a little bit of an angle. Look at how beautiful this is coming together. And then I have this little circle. This did come from the Give It a Whirl dies as well. There's a circle die within that set. I will adhere that with some Stampin' Dimensionals. And then we will also add our sentiment, and that pretty much finishes off the card, but I mean, we have to put it on the base, but those are all the main parts of the card. See, and then after we have these, then I know that I put all of those hats and turtles on there. I know now where I'll need to color if I had put it together like this first. You can definitely do it either way. This would be a fun little card project to bring with on a trip if you like to color, where you could have these all stamped out beforehand, and then you could just enjoy sitting and coloring. Also a good thing, what I started watching this week was Hallmark movies, because it is October here when this is happening live, and I've never done it, but I subscribed to the channel, so I get it free for a week, and then I can decide after that. But I might get hooked. So maybe that's what you want to do. You want to sit and watch kind of mindless TV or movies. Coloring is a great thing to do while you're doing that. And that is adhered there. So, I mean, you could even leave it just like that if you want to keep it nice and simple. But what I did to add just a little touch of color on the shell, you can probably barely even tell until after I do it. I took the light soft sea foam and colored in the shell. Isn't that beautiful? Just a subtle difference. And then I also did the same. So on the larger turtles, I did the shell in this color. On the smaller turtles, I did the head and the little legs, okay? That's how I did that. And then on the, let's see, what did I do on the other one? I gotta think about this. So then on the, let's see, I'm gonna practice here. I believe the feet, I did the Granny Apple Green. I've got the darker Granny Apple Green here for all these cute little feet on the, I mean, I wanted to say paws, but I don't think turtles have paws. I don't know, what are they called? Claw? No, they're not claws either. I don't know. I'm not even gonna try to pretend I know. And then I will grab, let's see, what else color do I have in here? So light Granny Apple Green. So that's what I will color in the head with, and the rest of the body. And of course, we got to not forget the tail. Let me see if I'm forgetting anything here. And so that's how you'll proceed with the rest of the card. And then the colors I'll show you that I used for the hats. See, I'm gonna need that little paw down there colored. That would bother me if it was sneaking out and there was no color on that. So you get the idea of how this is going to look. In the end, of course, you can see the sample here. And so I do hope that if you got the card kit that you are creating right along with me. If you didn't get the card kit, you can certainly recreate these cards. They are definitely very duplicatable. And so I've got Bermuda Bay. That's what I'm starting with. And you can do these all different if you want. They don't have to all be the same. You notice I just have a Stamp and Write marker now too. So you can do either markers. I do prefer the blends most of the time, but I just happen to need some a nice fine tip for a few of these parts of the hats. So I just grabbed my Stamp and Blend, or my Stamp and Write markers. So there's two different options. Of course, you can't blend your colors very well with these ones as you can the blends, but they are just fine for some nice simple coloring. And I even like them if I want to write a sentiment, like write out something to somebody in a card. And I want it to coordinate. And then last but not least, what I should do is I should color in, oh, that's the wrong color. I need the light Granny Apple Green. So then the light Granny Apple Green too is what I used to color in the shells and the little legs of the rest of these turtles, the small ones. All right, so I am gonna just stop here with this card and I'll just share with you the sample because you understand how that all goes together. So isn't that just adorable? Okay, so let's move into our next card. Like I said, these are in no particular order at all. Next up, I'm going to move into this card with the Daffodil Delight background. This is where you'll want to get your clouds. Those are in the little separate little bag that had the rhinestones and those last black strips for that heat embossing. So I've got a Daffodil Delight. I will go ahead and fold that in half. And I have pre-embossed this piece of white in the Tasteful Touches embossing folder. We can get this adhered to the base right away because nothing else is going to get added to this. We're going to add ribbon again, nice and generous, a nice loose, somewhat loose, I guess I should say, floppy bow to the left side of this card. I mean, look at how big I left that on there. Now, of course, for mailing, you could trim it down, but I thought for the general look of it, or if I'm gonna hand deliver this card, it looks great, larger. And I will put a glue dot down once again where I want the center of my bow tied. And I encourage you, even if you don't like a bow, you could tie a knot at this point. You wouldn't have to tie an actual bow if you didn't want to. But the ribbon always adds a nice polished, finished look to your card. Card should always, I don't want to say always, there's definitely exceptions. But you always want to have either at least one, either a ribbon or an embellishment of some kind on your card. Just really finishes it off. Okay, so I'm going to leave that just how that is and adhere this to the base. That way we have a few of the pieces out of the way. I can see this. I should let you see this the whole time too. Okay, and next let's do the blending. Let's get this blending done. It's so fun to do this blending. If you only have the one blender brush that came within your card kit, that's okay. These do wash out very nicely. And you can really just You know what? Let me actually show you how that would operate. So if you only have one, it's not a problem. You can run these to clean them under, you know, just some warm water is fine after you're completed, or, you know, completed using them for the day. But you can also use them in mix and match colors, and there's no issue with it. So I'll just start with my yellow. So I want my yellow going across the center of the card. And I do want all my colors to meet up. I want them to meet each other. I don't want any white space left on my card, or on my piece here, on my basic white. So I will go ahead and put that away. So that's Daffodil Delight. Next, I'll move into my sky. See, I'm just gonna really make sure I clean that off. There's still yellow on there, but there's really not any yellow ink. So now I will go into, I have got Coastal Cabana for my next color. I always like to brush off onto the paper. So I don't know if you can see right there. So you don't get that harsh line so much right onto your cardstock that you're blending. That harsh line from the initial, I don't know what you'd call that, initial like swoop is on your scratch paper and not on the one that you're using for your card. One more time. We just want it really light. A nice, easy background. So that's gonna take care of our sky, the blue. So now we just need to add a little bit of grass under there. So we'll use the Granny Apple Green. And again, we'll do this. And that one, I want this pretty light, so I gave that a little bit extra swoosh there. And no two cards will ever be alike when you're doing blending. They'll all be just slightly different. So as you see, I used one blender brush for all three colors. Now, as you get into more blending, you probably would like to have, you know, one for red, one for green, tones, one, you know, yellows and oranges I would do together, things like that. But if you're just starting out and you just got the card kit, you can get by with just one. Now, if you want to order more, they do come in a 3-pack. So you can kind of cover all the color families. Okay, let's bring back in our Stampin' Pierce mat. We got to add some sprouts of grass to this card. Very sporadically, just going to sprinkle my grass around. Like so. And I'm going to need to stamp, let me see, let me find my parts. I'm gonna need to stamp this yet, but as long as I'm working on the background, I think I'm gonna just eyeball where that's gonna end up. And I wanna add my little hearts as long as I've got this, as long as I'm working on the background. I might as well finish off the background before I go any farther. So I will bring in some real red. And these tiny little hearts, there's 3 of them. And very, very gently put it into my, like barely touching it. And now I'll go straight up, straight down. I'll do a few of them. Like so. It looks like I kind of missed on that one. Let me see if I can. I'm gonna really gentle. This is really putting me on the spot. So I put just a little bit of ink on that. Since it's photopolymer, if I am really still. Oh, I did it. I got it layered over there. And so that finishes the base of the card. We will do, now of course, how fitting, we'll do the sentiment, that it is for belated, for turtles, you know, because obviously turtles are a little bit slower. So it is very fitting that we have a happy belated birthday for a turtle card. And so I've got basic gray. If you don't have basic gray, just a memento black would work too. And I did get a stitched rectangle for this from the Stitched Rectangle dies. Very nice. And the last bit of stamping we'll do for this card is going to be our little turtles. So we need to bring in a scratch piece of paper. You know, I can take one of these. And there are 2 turtles in the stamp set, and they are facing different directions. So we are going to stamp one of each. Just on the piece of scratch white paper that was included in your kit. And we'll give him a little belly. In Granny Apple Green. So I'm calling it a belly. It's his shell. We'll add his shell. Or her. The turtle. The turtle's shell. There we go. And last but not least for this card, we gotta color it a little bit. So the Granny Apple Green stamp's a little darker, so I'll use the light Granny Apple Green blend just for some very simple coloring. I'm not gonna do any actual blending, just a little bit that'll maybe pull off of this ink, the Granny Apple Green ink that I stamped. And we'll do the same down here. Got to get the tail. And so if you're making this with your kit, you would want to stamp 4 of these right away because you'll need 2 on each card. And then we have to cut those out. So just a very easy fussy cut. You don't have to do anything too crazy here. I like to cut them out, and then once they're on a smaller sheet, it seems easier for me. And these would be a fun thing if you like to watch those Hallmark movies or have a favorite show. Stamp out a bunch of them, color them, and then cut them out while you're watching your favorite show or your favorite stamper. You could watch me on YouTube. All right, and let's do this one. So these cards today would be super cute to see in any of our other animal stamps. So very versatile, where you could just switch the animal out, use the same exact layout, and you'd have some really adorable cards too. It seems like the animal classes tend to be the most popular, and maybe that's because now you'd have some really cute kid birthday cards. I mean, they can go for anybody, but animals seem to always be a hit with kids' birthdays. And that does it for our fussy cutting. So again, I'm not a very fancy fussy cutter. I'm sure there are many, many of you that are much better at it, than myself. But in the end, it all comes together very nice. Okay, so let's go ahead and mat this. Again, another one where I'm matting it onto just a very thin layer of black cardstock. It's like 1/8 of an inch up from what the base. I'm not sure off the top of my head all the sizes of these. You can find those that purchase the class. They are in the email. There is a printable PDF that has some nice pictures of each one of the cards, as well as then the measurements for all the cardstock in Designer Series paper that I used today. Okay, just gonna put this up on some dimensionals. And then I'll have to find some clouds because we have to put a few clouds in the sky from those Give It a Whirl dies. That's what I love about those Give It a Whirl dies. They're really an all occasion set of dies. They're just absolutely wonderful. And so this will also go on dimensionals. In your kit, I do believe they were all the regular size dimensionals, which, you know, that'll work too. I don't know why I have the small ones out here today. And we'll pop that up just so our hearts are peeking out the side. We can still see our grass. And then we'll make sure the turtle that's looking towards the sentiment goes on this side. See, so I just put the dimensional there. I didn't put anything there. But now if at this point, if I want to sneak in something, if I'm afraid his head is going to bobble around too much, I can, since I wasn't exactly sure how it was going to work out. But now I can sneak a glue dot under there if I want to. And then I'll put the other turtle on this side so I know that his dimensional needs to go on the top of the shell. like so. That's making me so happy. So now I need to find some clouds. I'll be right back. All right, so the clouds were also in the bag of little embellishments that had those black strips from the last card, the rhinestones. And so you have 6 clouds. Do make sure you check. Some of them might be stuck together, so you might have got more than 6, but I'm gonna pull out 3 different sizes. So there's 3 different sizes. And I'm just going to look at my sample. Let's see how I have them placed on there. And depending on how your hearts fall and how it worked out for you, you may put your clouds in different areas. So this one, I think I will put here. So on this card, I have it in the bigger area. I might have put that cloud a little too low. We'll see after I get this together. I didn't put a lot of adhesive, so I could probably move it a little bit if I wanted to. But I actually think I'm gonna leave it. Let's see. If it pulls up, maybe I'll move it a little. Any kind of luck? Oh, card surgery. I'm gonna move it up just a little bit. Not too much, just a touch. And then last but not least, I'm going to add, I need to add a little wink of Stella. And I'm gonna do that to the clouds. Now, in video, of course, wow, I pulled my bow. I gotta pull that a little bit tighter, it looks like. There, give it a nice tug. Video maybe doesn't show that well, but add wink of Stella to give your clouds a little bit of sparkle. It's time that I get a new wink of Stella. Let me see if I have one here. My problem is I have a lot of wink of Stellas that are gone because I save them because I'll use them for like blending brushes after. And then even if like the glitter is gone, it still like works to blend things for coloring. And then it just has like a slight amount of, you know, sparkle to it, which I probably don't need to keep as many as I have, but that's why I every once in a while I grab one and it's like, oh, that's another one that's gone. But here we are. So just gonna color those in to give them some sparkle. Okay, that finishes off our second card. Isn't that just great? And next let's move into this adorable card right here. Now this one, this is the first card I created for the class. And, you know, I was just coming off of last week's regular card club where we do all occasion cards. And I happen to have out Christmas paper. And so this is the paper that I had out for last week. And I wish I had those cards handy. Let me look at the name of the paper. Okay, so the name of the paper is The Peaceful Place. So we had the Peaceful Place class last week, and we made a card with these trees. And so, you know, just absolutely stunning card. But what happened was I had all this paper left over from the top part because we really only used the bottom for the trees. And so I had some leftover scraps, and I thought, what am I gonna do with those? Of course, I could make a beautiful Christmas card. But take a look at the flip side of this paper. So that is something I love to do when I'm creating, is look at my designer series, especially when they're very specific to a holiday. I like to take a look and see, you know, what else can I make with these that maybe isn't the holiday or doesn't really follow the theme of the bundle. And so that's exactly what happened with this paper right here. So I'm gonna do just a very little bit of blending on the back, just to add a little bit of green, the Granny Apple green, to the card. And so let me find my Granny Apple green ink pad one more time. And again, I'm gonna swoosh it off just a little bit there. And I'm just gonna add a little bit, just to that right side. So it's gonna peek out behind the turtle and where I end up with the sentiment. Let me bring that card in a little bit so that you can see it. I won't need this scratch paper right now, so we can pull that out of the way. I will need to, however, stamp one more turtle. Actually, I think I'm gonna need 2 more turtles. So I'm gonna see if I can fit those on here. And then remember that I did it for the last card, because there's one more card after that to finish off our 4 cards, 4 designs. So let's stamp this one 2 times. In one, I'll put the shell in, and then the other, I'm gonna put the sentiment in. I do need to clean it off though. I want to clean this because I want to stamp this in the Memento Black. I think I should probably look at my sample just to be sure that is correct. And so one, I want to do the shell, and one I'm gonna say it's time to celebrate. Lots of on and off with the ink pad covers. I like to try to keep them covered to keep things organized. And a nice gentle stamp. My ink pad is very juicy. It is Granny Apple Green, straight up, straight down. And we've got just this cute little turtle. And also this one will need a birthday hat. I think our last one does too. So we've got 2 hats ready to go. I'm done with that. I'm gonna put some of this stuff away that I'm done with for right now anyways. And I'll take the light Granny Apple Green to just color right over the top of this. I'm not going all the way to the edge. I think I want my fine tip end to do the outlining on this. So these colors are just so nice and vibrant for this turtle. And I think on the last one, I'm not really sure. I should really look up my animals before I do a class on them. But not that when you're making an art project like this or a paper crafting project, it really matters. But I did give my turtle different color feet or paws. Again, I don't know what turtles' feet are called. Are they paws, feet? And then I'll color this one in. This is going to be for the next card. I'm using the Ivory blend. It's kind of a skin tone, so it's good for coloring people. So if you liked any of like kind of the cartoon character looking stamps where there's people, the Ivory is a good option. Another good option for like faces and ears and things like that is Petal Pink is a good option. I like to try to use all my different colors though. So that's why I'm using the Ivory for this turtle. I guess we'll just do his feet Ivory too. Okay, and now I can punch them out. Let me see, I did have, I'll punch them out. I will make this real quick as long as I have it out. I'll do, because the base I'm gonna end up using for this first one is Polished Pink. That's what color I'm gonna make the hat to pull that color in one more time. And I'm not sure on the other one. I think the other one is just like, I think I can just do multiple colors on this one. So I've got Bermuda Bay. Let's do some real red. Little orange. So this hat's gonna go on our last final part. I'm just doing it as long as I'm coloring. I figured I would get it all ready to go. Here's the other end. So there's a fine tip and a brush end on all of the markers. So both the Stampin' Blends, and I'm pulling in some Stampin' Write markers. I like to pull those out every once in a while. Okay, that finishes that. So now we just have to punch these out. So if you don't yet have the turtle bundle and you're looking at getting it, if you happen to be watching this in real time on October 27th, 28th, around that time, this is on back order. So back order means you can still order it. Not orderable, you can't, but back order you can. And then the day they get them into stock, they ship to you first. So it's not very long, I don't think, that they're supposed to be on back order. So if it's something that you want is on your wish list, I would order it. Now we do have quite a few months left of our catalog that this one is in. So there's still definitely time to get it, but I would go ahead and just order it now. Then you don't have to worry about it. I'm gonna leave these attached just yet so I don't lose them. If I take them out too soon, poof, they'll be gone. Okay, so this is gonna go on to some Granny Apple Green. Again, isn't that great? Some Christmas Designer Series paper with the Turtle and Friends card class. And here is the polished pink. I did have this cut the kind of opposite direction than what we're used to. So it's cut at 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. And I'm just gonna start putting things together, adding our layers. I'm gonna try to be mindful and remember where my ribbon is gonna go on this one as I look at my sample. And let's see what else we have here for parts. So I'm just making one, so I'm trying to somewhat neatly set aside the remaining supplies. So I'm gonna just pour out the rest of those. Each card did have envelopes as well too. And so now, rather than the last one, same size that I did that stitched rectangle for the sentiment, I just did one in Granny Apple Green to add some nice background color to this card. So die cuts, especially like these ones that we maybe normally look at as a sentiment piece, they don't have to be for that. We can use them however we would like. And then this comes from the In Color, this is polished pink, 6x6 Designer Series paper stack. So there's some different patterns, so depending on which ones you got, you might have a little bit different pattern. But I cut this out of the Tasteful Touches dies. And that's gonna end up right there, but before I add that, I'm gonna add a little squiggle of ribbon. So I will put a glue dot down to start, about the center of where I'm gonna end up, you know, putting that. And so how am I gonna do this? I'm gonna start by just taking off a bunch of ribbon. Probably about 20 inches or so, if you are wanting to measure. And then what I'm gonna do is, I'm probably gonna go with more glue dots, for sure. And so I'm gonna adhere that there. So I just kind of put it on the edge of the glue dot. I'm gonna want it to stick out the bottom, so I'm gonna go back up, and then I'm gonna go back down and put another glue dot. And now upon looking, I want it to go a little lower. Yeah, that's gonna be good. And so then I'll put another one here. So I'm just zigzagging this. It's stuck to my nail, there we go. And then we'll go there and I'll snip it off down here. And then what I'll do is I'll take my Stampin' Dimensionals. I missed a whole step. How did I do that? Okay, we're not quite done yet. And you know what? I did this after when I made my sample too. I'm happy that I remembered it though. We gotta add some happy birthday before we get too far. So look at this, I'm doing this totally backwards. And I had gotten my whole turtle together and then I realized I had to put a sentiment somewhere. So I did this when I made it too. So I'm gonna get my basic gray and I'm gonna add some stamping. Oh, I put it right on the ribbon. Oh boy. So I think I did it before I had the ribbon on the last time. So you are seeing how this plays out. And obviously I re-inked my happy birthday stamp since then. We'll just leave it like that. Isn't that great? And so you could do, I re-inked it, that's why it's much darker here. But if you want it lighter, you could also do smoky slate, you could do gray granite, but I had basic gray, but that gives it a little darker look. It does fade a little bit as it dries. I'm gonna have to snip that off. See, real live stamping. So now you get to see how that looks if you could stamp right onto your ribbon. So if you want to make some happy birthday ribbon, go for it. It's an option. Of course, it's not snipping right because I don't have my ribbon scissors here. I see it handy though. Very important to keep a scissors or paper snips as we call it, just for ribbon. I have a gem on mine that is dedicated to the ribbon scissors. Everybody that comes here knows that is the ribbon scissors. And I have had it for a whole entire year. It is just as sharp as the day that I got it. And then my other one is perfect for paper, for snipping my dimensionals. But it's nice to have one dedicated just for ribbon. And I will adhere this right over the top. And did I punch out? I did. Tell me where it went. There it is. And then we'll put this over the top. So this is really great how it is, you know, pulling in all the different colors more than one time. I always try to pull in colors a couple of times from a card. And we'll put one little dimensional under the head to make sure it stays in place. And now I'll cut this one out, not with the ribbon scissors. And let's trim it down. It's easier to cut once it's smaller. And then we'll add a little mini dimensional on that. And then we have to add a few rhinestones. And let's getting down there on this sheet of dimensionals. One should be just fine. I'm gonna have to scoot his ribbon over so we can get the hat on there. Now, I added a few rhinestones. To get some more out. And they would look just fine as a regular rhinestone color. However, if you'd like to color them in, we can make our rhinestones, and this also goes for pearls, really any of our embellishments. You can make them any color you want just by taking a Stampin' Blend. So I've got my dark polished pink. I'm gonna very lightly go over the top of my rhinestone, and suddenly I've got nice polished pink rhinestones to attach to my card. I colored in 5 of them. So within your card kit, you do have rhinestones. You have 10 of them. Unfortunately, I think if you took your kit to go and you didn't stamp here in the studio, you might not have gotten the rhinestones. So if you don't have any at home and the next time you come, you want to bring your cards back to add some, you can do that. Excuse me, I need a sip of water. And that finishes off our 3rd card. Oh, excuse me. Now let's work into our last card. And this one is probably one of my favorite cards. And probably just because it is using the Give It a Whirl dies and some of my favorite things. I love cards that have like the little pull-out effect. And that's exactly what we're going to do right now. So this is the largest die from the Give It a Whirl die set. And so I'm going to use foam adhesive strips. If you don't have them, just use a few dimensionals. If you want to make it, you know, give it a little bit more clearance, stack up 2 dimensionals is what I would recommend. And you don't need them to run all along here. If you just put a few, just so that what we're going to attach so that the side through can't get through there. That's the main thing. But if you have foam adhesive strips, that'd be the preferred adhesive for this part. And I'm gonna just do one more tiny little piece. To the top of the card. And I'm just gonna go ahead and put this right onto the base. We have just a tiny little bit of blending to do on this card, but we've already got our turtle cut out. We are like all set to go on this card. I did that wrong. Oh my goodness, good thing I have two. Let's just disregard like that one even happened. I did it on the wrong side. I'm gonna have to find another one. Okay, so I just put my adhesive on the wrong side. So you don't wanna do that. I mean, it could work. It could. Nope, I don't wanna do it. The stitching goes on this side, so I have to do it on this side. My goodness. Well, I guess if that's the first big boo-boo that I make, big mistake on my cards as I'm stamping with you here, that's pretty okay. So double check your size of your card before you put your adhesive on. All right, take two. All right, so let's go ahead and try that one more time. Okay, pulling those off. These are two-sided. There we go. Now we are looking good. Okay, so let's add the inside first, just to get it out of the way. So I've got, this is the inside. What I'm gonna do for the inside is add this 1-inch strip of the Pattern Party. This is the Hostess paper. So if you do have a nice big wish list and you have an order you wanna place, you can redeem this for free, essentially, with your host rewards. It's just this huge, huge pack of paper. And then I did figure we needed something to show us how this is going to pull out of the card. So I got a 1x3-inch strip here. And so I just need a little bit of adhesive on each side. I'll place the first side down here and then I'll flip it over. Actually, what I should have done is I should have folded it beforehand. Oops, that's okay. Just so that you have a little bit sticking out so that when we put it inside here, well, what did I do? There we go. Oh, I put this too high. Oh my, this is just a disaster. Okay, so be careful when you do this. You guys are gonna wonder, does she even know what she's doing? I swear I do. Okay, so when you do this one, make sure, okay, so number one, make sure it's going the right direction. Number two, make sure you put your strip way down on the bottom so that this piece can go in and out. Otherwise, if you put it too far up, it's not gonna go in and out. So that's tip number two. All right, how many more tips can I give you for this card? And within here, there should be, again, it might have gotten misplaced as I was creating today, but there should be a little heart. I'm gonna see if I have one in my spare parts. I certainly do. So I cut out a heart from the Stitch So Sweetly, or not Stitch So Sweetly, I'm sorry, the Give It a Whirl dies, and I thought that was a nice little touch to add to that little piece there. Just a little, let me do a glue dot, that's pretty tiny. So we'll just put one little glue dot on there and adhere that. So kind of doing this little backwards. That's the inside of the card. So get that out of the way right away. And now let's go ahead and do the outside of the card. So I have got, using the color contour dies, the scallop on here, and that's gonna go right here. And then I've got this piece here. It's a 2.5 by 3.5. It nests in there just perfectly. So that's what I'm gonna do. Just a little bit of blending on. Very light sky centered, just like I did on the card with the belated birthday with the 2 turtles. So let's grab my blending brushes. Again, if you only have one, that's okay. Just make sure in between you're just cleaning them off real good like so. All right, so I've got Coastal Cabana, but if you don't have Coastal Cabana, a nice light blue like Pool Party would work. Okay, so you can probably on the video barely see that, and that's exactly how I want it to be. I want it to be just very subtle. Next, I will do just a little bit of yellow because, you know, you can start with less and then you can always add more to it. Yellow probably is about the same. And then let's do green. So the green, Granny Apple Green, I'll do that one just a little bit darker. And I'm gonna have to add a little stamping to my grass here. I'm going to blend that just a little bit by just kind of in a circular motion, adding it in. Okay, and now let's put a little more grass on there. I was just gonna say I haven't lost anything, but we are not done yet. That could still happen, that's for sure. Okay, so let's just add a few pieces of grass to cross over here. Give them. And then we're gonna put happy birthday right down on the bottom. Nice straight up, straight down. Okay, it's looking good. All right, let's get some of this out of the way again. So what I did next, I brought in my ribbon. So I did use this ribbon on, I believe, all of the cards. And so I'm going to put the ribbon to the left of the card. Or the left. How about the other left? I'm going to put it to the right of the card. You can tell it's getting to the end. I'm starting to lose it a little bit. Okay, and let's put a glue dot down once again. And we'll get this bow tied. I'm going to leave it nice and large too, just like I did my sample I did. And I can always decide later on down the road if I want to snip it down if it interferes with my envelope or mailing. This ribbon is so forgiving, so it's a nice one to tie with and work with. Okay, so this will go right down here. It twisted a little bit, but that's okay because our piece with the sentiment and our turtle's gonna still go over the top of that. I'm adhering this right to the base with just the regular layer of adhesive. And then this layer I will pop up with some dimensionals. I'm gonna snip those in half. There's no waste when you're using your dimensionals. Make sure you cut the edges off. We'll pull the backs off. And look at how great this is coming together. This was probably my favorite again. I think I said that already, but I love how the inside works on this one. Okay, add our turtle with dimensionals, and then we got to cut out the hat just so long as it's still here. I hope we didn't lose it. And we'll put him right here. And then our nice colorful hat. And it pulled in the colors from the designer series from the inside. So it really coordinated our inside and our outside of the card, which you can see with adding this host pattern paper, oh, that's a mouthful, designer series. You know, coordinating the Give It a Whirl dies and this Turtle and Friends bundle, how well, you know, all of their Stampin' Up! Products really coordinate well together, as well as just adding in that Winter Woods designer series paper from the last card. You know, there's many things we can do with our products when we kind of think outside the box a little bit. You know, coloring our rhinestones any color we want. So now at this point I can decide I do want that a little bit shorter. And that finishes off the last card. So let me pull in all of the cards that we created today for one last look. And I believe I probably went slow enough that you're probably completed with your cards by now. But if you haven't, you can always go back and watch if you wanted any little tips and tricks or want to do them exactly as I did. But you can also create them just from the pictures as well. They're pretty simple. You know, there's a little bit of coloring to these and a, you know, few fun little elements, but overall they're fairly easy ideas, especially with everything cut and ready for you to go. All right, now that I have this cleaned off, I will bring these all in. Now I do need to go back and finish coloring this one, but you get the idea there. And so you'll see all of these cards I have. Now I am really excited. I have 8 cards because of course I had to make one for the sample. Now I have my cards all completed too. So I have 8 Turtle and Friend cards ready to send my friends and family. Here's this one. And I really only messed up one where I put the adhesive on the wrong side. So really I only had one major issue today that I can see anyways. Maybe there was more and I just am not realizing them. But anyways, here, let's bring those down into a nice little view for you to see. All right, everybody, I hope that you enjoyed our October 2021 birthday club class. Next month's birthday club class, we are going to use, I believe it is called Many Messages stamp set in dies. It's going to be really fun. It'll be some all occasion type, or all ages, let's say that. All ages birthday cards. We'll be using a variety of designer series papers and embellishments and things. So it's going to be a really fun class. So I hope that you will join us for that one again for our November birthday club class. Enjoy, everybody. Contact me if you have any questions. If your wish list just got larger, you know, I can certainly help you out with that as well. So have a great day, everybody. We will talk with you all real soon. Take care.